Call the March 9th Plan Commission meeting order. Ms. X, please call the roll.
Commissioner Olson?
Here.
Commissioner Hogan is excused. Commissioner Burkhardt is excused. Commissioner Haley?
Here.
City Engineer Morrow?
Here.
Alderwoman Hanneman is excused. Commissioner Leon?
Here.
We have a quorum. Please rise and join the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is approval of the regular meeting minutes of February 9th. Any additions or corrections? With the note, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We all need to pitch in tonight. We're kind of. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the mayor votes aye due to the low numbers on turnout to affect the order. So the mayor is the presiding officer, but I will be voting on every issue tonight to affect the outcome of those items. Next item is approval of the regular meeting minutes of February 23rd. Any additions or corrections?
Second.
Leon and Haley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C1 is a public hearing notice on a special use and a site plan and a certified survey map for Jilly's Car Wash facility at, I don't know the address, 5450 West Rawson Avenue. Ms. X, you have a meeting notice or a public hearing notice.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Franklin Plan Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, March 9th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. in the Common Council Chambers at the Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132, to take public comments regarding an application for a special use contingent upon the approval of concurrent 3-lot certified survey map to allow for the development of a single-story building housing offices and a car wash facility, Jilly's Car Wash, approximately 6,373 square feet, including office, car wash bay, mechanical equipment, and employee booth, with adjacent parking for vacuum stalls, as well as general parking, 3 separate pay stations, landscaping and lighting, stormwater facilities to be shared with the adjoining Sendix property, an existing pond to the north of these parcels, with hours of operation Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sunday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on a parcel located at 5450 West Rawson Road, Rawson Avenue, zoned M1 Limited Industrial District and OL2 General Business Overlay District, tax key number 74199960001. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of the standards of 15-30701 General Standards for Special Uses, 15-30703 Detailed Standards for Special Uses in Non-Residential Districts, and 15-90103 Applications for Special Use Permit of the City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance. A map showing the property affected and a full legal description. The application and all supporting materials are available for review and may be obtained from the City Council by way of request to the Department of City Development at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, during normal business hours. A copy of the proposed special use resolution in draft form is available and open for inspection by the public in the office of the city clerk at Franklin City Hall, addressed the same during normal business hours. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input. So,
Okay, it appears that we have a properly noticed public hearing. The way this works, folks, is we just read the public hearing notice. Staff, in the form of Ms. X, is going to tell us in normal English what the proposal is, and then the applicant is going to give us any highlights they want to give us, and then we'll open a public hearing to hear from you folks. You folks will be asked to come to the microphone in the center of the room, give us your name and address, and then tell us what you want to tell us. And then we'll close the public hearing, get questions from the commission, and then the commission may choose to act tonight and refer this to the Common Council. So this is on a special use.
correct.
This is it appropriate to have a car wash at this facility? With that, Ms. X?
Thank you, Mayor. And so the item is on the agenda as a single item, and so I'm going to canvass all 3 items, but please note that the public hearing is specifically for the use application. of a car wash. So, but because all of these are tied together, they have to be explained together or they won't make sense. So the applicant's request is for recommendation from the Plan Commission of, recommendation from the Plan Commission of approval of a certified survey map to divide the parcel shown here into 3 lots. Currently, the applicant is requesting the site plan and special use approval for the development of Lot 1. The department has received an application for development for Lot 2, and the proposed outlot 1 or Lot 3, depending on the decisions of the applicant and these bodies. Currently, there are no development proposals for that parcel. So as you can see, it has a frontage on Rawson Avenue, and the stormwater part is immediately to the north. Sendix is to the east, and to the west is a storage facility. So to begin with the certified survey map, the requested CSM would produce these 3 lots. Lot 1, the lot being considered for development with the special use application, is proposed to be a 78,935 square foot parcel with frontage on Rawson, but accessed by a service road. The proposed service road being shown here. There's an existing service road that connects from the east to this proposed service road. Lot 2 is proposed to be a 38,786 square foot parcel with frontage on Rawson Avenue. It also meets the requirements of the zoning district with frontage on Rawson and access via that private road. Outlot 1 is proposed to be a 151,327 square foot parcel. It meets the UDO requirements as relates to lot width, et cetera, but it does not meet the requirement that it be fronting along a public street. It therefore must either be designated as an outlot, or the applicant may request a land division variance, which would have to be approved prior to recording of the certified survey map. So this draft CSM before you could be approved as proposed, but there is a condition in the draft resolution that allows for that land division variance, but then it would be possible to record this as a lot and not an outlot, which precludes development. So that is the certified survey map. So we move on to the discussion. Well, before doing so, we'll just note that the cross access is a requirement of the OL2 zoning district, and that the outlot 1 is currently substandard. It needs to either be an outlot or needs to have a land division variance. There are also some technical issues with just the drawing itself that, as usual, we have a standard condition about that. Moving on to the special use and site plan. So these are interrelated in that the use drives the conditions of the site. So the request is for a car wash, which is a special use in both OL2 and M1 limited industrial district zonings. The structure itself meets all of the setback requirements. The landscape plan exceeded the amount of required landscaping. A natural resource protection plan was provided, and there are not concerns regarding that, et cetera. So just to canvass the features of this site. So just to canvass the features of the site, as you can see, this is a rendering of the proposed development on the lot itself. So you have Chili's off to the east, the future development lot of lot 2 along Rawson Avenue, and the outlot in the rear. The information that's there in those lots is conceptual and not part of the discussion this evening, but just so that you can orient yourself in terms of where this is located. So you have Sendix, the storage facility, and then the quarry is actually across the street. So just to canvass the features of the site itself, though, so this is a car wash. We're all familiar with how those work. And the north arrow moves around in these drawings. I apologize for that, but things are oriented differently in the drawings we received. So currently north is on the right of the screen, and the access road that we discussed earlier is at the bottom. So people would enter the site from that location, turn right to a series of queuing stations and payment booths, loop around back through, so they'd be heading west, back through the car wash itself to this and going south, And then they could either choose to exit the facility or they could move on to a set of vacuum stations and use the vacuum stations and then leave looping past those vacuum stations and back out that same access drive. I want to be clear that the vacuum stations are considered part of the use and not part of the parking for this site. So they are providing adequate parking, and the parking standards drive the landscape standards, but they actually provided landscaping relevant to if that was included in the total amount. So the main concerns with this site plan are the dumpster location is immediately to the left. I understand the need to have it accessible for staff, for people to move stuff out there, but it's kind of a prominent location on the site, and I would recommend a little bit more landscaping around. It's to the left of the entrance. So if you're headed west, yeah, that's it. They are providing a fence around it, which is appropriate and required, but a little more landscaping to make it look nicer would be advisable. And then it is required that an irrigation system be provided for landscaping. So engineering did have their usual set of comments and have their own approval process that must be completed, and that's a standard condition of approval. And the fire department, of course, had comments as well. With regards to the special use application, they provided responses in their packet, and given the surrounding uses and the current site conditions, have responded appropriately to those. So the applicants are here to answer any direct questions, and I'm happy to respond to any questions that are from the commission as well. So,
Anything to add, Mr. Zimmerman?
Outstanding job of going through the car wash and the layout. No, I mean, I don't know if anyone's really familiar with Chili's, but we have locations in Elm Grove, Pewaukee, Brookfield, Equine, Glendale. We're coming to Muskego, coming to Waukesha, and we have customers everywhere. And Franklin is something that we're constantly asked to expand to this area, and that's why we're here. We want to come to your market.
Can you give us your name and address?
I'm sorry, my name is John Zimmerman, and I live in 4619 North Kramer Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53211. I'm the president of Jilly's.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to open a public hearing. Again, anyone wishing to speak on this matter, please come forward. Is that microphone on? Marion, do you think? Give us your name and address and tell us what you want to tell us. So anyone wishing to speak. Don't be bashful.
Hello. Hi, my name is Saif Mian. We have the house right behind the pond, 6929 South Harvard Drive, Franklin. The only question after talking to the neighbors and stuff, they had a little bit of issues that they said that we already currently have a car wash on 51st and Rawson by Quick Trip. And then there's one on 76 and Rawson as well already. So what's the need of having another car wash right in the middle of that?
Mr. Zimmerman has heard this question before.
I mean, from our perspective,
Joe, speak into the microphone
Sorry.
to us, and then
from our perspective, we want to be where our customers are, and about 70 to 80% of our business is unlimited washing, and meaning you can pay a monthly fee and wash as often as you want, and we want to be where our customers are, and our customers are moving around the area, and we feel we need to be in this location in order to serve our customer base, which is the whole area, the Waukesha, Milwaukee County, Ozaukee County area. So, we feel we offer a phenomenal service, and we don't really worry much about the competition. But there's a reason why there might be a Burger King and a McDonald's across the street from each other. So I don't really worry much about the competition. We worry about ourselves.
So behind the car wash where, one more back, please. Where the pond is. So your car wash would be in the back over there, correct? All the way in that right there, right?
Correct.
Are you fencing on that side anywhere towards where the residential side is? Like back that way? Yep.
Isn't there a storage facility behind us?
Yeah, that side. Just like Sendix, when they built, they fenced that side because the neighbors had issues of late night and stuff for people walking around. So would there be any fencing or anything on that side where you would protect and from anyone walking that way?
Hi, Caitlin LaJoy, 3885 North Brookfield Road, Brookfield, Wisconsin, 53045. Director of Land Development at Bryan Building, and we'll heavily landscape this area, but at this point, we're not proposing a fence. Oh, so I was just saying, so at this point, we are proposing additional landscaping, as Marion alluded to before. Space will be adequately, if not over, landscaped. Right now, we are not proposing a fence. There's still ample space between the car wash entrance and the property line, and then to the residential even further north.
No fencing, right?
No, we want the fence if they do the car wash.
No, no.
Huh?
You want to speak your name? And
Yeah, my name is Reyes, last name is Mia. Like he said, we live behind, and we have problem before where Sander got built. That kid were in the summertime, the people walking through, kid walking through back and forth. And that's why I did the fence before. And I want to make sure, we're not against to do the car wash, but I'll make sure that fence always back up. The people not in the summertime go through. Back to the neighborhood.
Sure.
I'm exactly in the back in my house. If you see it there, I live in the behind there. And we all neighbor talk about, and then everybody wanted to be a fence in the back. And the fence is 1 to 6 feet height that nobody can jump over or the side.
And I think for that, most people will be driving to the car wash. You're not going to be too concerned about pedestrians walking to the car wash. And then as far as headlights, potentially they'll be turning the corner, but it's not going to be every single car coming out towards the neighbors. And again, it will be heavily screened with landscaping.
Well, people walk there, people go through car wash, but they are neighborhood kid or area is kid, they walk through there. And you cannot stop them. The reason is now it cannot do in the lot there, but when it's car wash there, they go through, kid go through there. And we have this happen, we see it before. I live there since 2007. And I want to make sure you do the fence, please.
I'm not against the fence. I feel like landscaping often in these situations provides a nicer looking alternative to what you're trying to, if you're concerned about something. But if the city requires us to put a fence there, it's not an issue.
Well, let's
Well,
be clear.
you do the landscaping for yourself at your side, but it's my side, I'm living behind.
No, we do the landscaping behind. We would put landscaping behind.
But we need the fence that nobody can go through.
Okay, guys, we're getting back and forth here, and that's really not the purpose. The purpose is to hear from you and your issues, which is you're concerned about people walking through your property. The subject property is right here. It's not the entire width of the whole development. So this is, what, 200 feet? So there'll be a fence that starts here and ends here, or starts here and ends there.
Okay.
So just understand there's a practical nature to all this too. Not opposed to what you ask. Mr. Zimmerman's not opposed to it, but let's not leave here with some expectation that there's great security being provided by a fence that's from here to here. Just to be real about it. So, I just want to give you the reality.
Sure.
But please go ahead. Sir, it's your turn if you'd like.
So that's all. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
the commission's heard it. Thank you. Anybody else? More people here. Come on, don't be bashful. Anybody else wishing to speak on this matter?
Right, my name is Kurt Clappridge with CBRE. I represent Devo Properties, which is the owner of the property. I guess my only comment is, walking that site, you've got that pretty big detention pond that's back there. And so there may be kids that maybe fish there in the summertime or just kind of look at the frogs and that type of thing, but I don't see many people really going back there much. You know, like you say, if you put a fence up there, now it's right next to the pond that's, you know, landscaped with cattails and everything. I don't know, you know, where the kids are really going beyond that pond that would get behind into that residential neighborhood there. It gets pretty marshy back there, even north of the pond, so I'm not really sure what the fence would do. Maybe in the future when the owner develops adjacent to Sendik's, you know, maybe that would be another issue that could be approached at that point, but to put a fence north of the car wash, I'm not sure that really addresses the security issue that. I guess that's just my opinion after walking the site.
Sir, please. Please,
So I guess that's my only comment.
thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Anybody else? Okay, seeing no one else rise, I'll close the public hearing portion of this. Are there questions from the commission? Commissioner Leon? Wait a minute. Leon, then the city engineer, then Commissioner Haley.
Thank you, Mayor. I have several notes. I'll get at some of the questions raised by the neighbors. And I'll start with asking the applicant if you can describe in a bit more detail the type of landscaping that you're proposing to the north that would provide screening for light. Are you talking trees? Are you talking bushes? Is it talking about a berm? Can you get into a bit more detail about what type of landscaping, please?
Unfortunately, I'm not the landscape architect. Those details were provided in the plans. If there's something specific that you'd be looking for that high density at a lower level, we can certainly address that.
Well, I took a look at the landscape plan, which is sheet L10, 1.0. There's nothing indicated on the north side of the property. However, the artist's rendering shows a whole bunch of trees all around the property on the cover sheet, but the landscape plan is essentially barren.
Sure. And if that's the case, then we certainly will add additional landscaping to the north there.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I was getting at is a type of landscaping that would address some of the concerns of the neighboring properties and ask to reach out to those neighbors to find out if not a fence, and if a fence works, okay, but if not a fence, what type of landscaping would appropriately address trees, I would think, maybe taller bushes and berms. I'm not a landscaper either. But one question that I have probably to staff is, as we look at hours of operation, basically 8 p.m., except for Sundays, 7 p.m., is there anything limiting the applicant to having extended hours? The reason I ask the question is when you now are having headlights, if you stayed open until 10 p.m. or later, then lights could be going on onto the property. So anything in ordinance that restricts the applicant from operating later than these proposed hours?
The special use itself places the restriction on the hours of operation. If they wanted to change them, they would have to request a special use of
Okay.
public hearing.
Yeah, so as it stands now, they could go no later than 8 p.m. on any night. Okay. And I'm not sure, but the comparable car washes that were listed, 51st in Ross and then just past 76th Street, the properties are different, but I don't believe there is fencing behind either one of those. Now, 76th and Ross is probably not a great comparison because you've got Loomis Road on one side and Rawson on the other, but 51st and Rawson, where Quick Trip is, I don't think there's a fence to the north. I think it's landscaping there as well. I don't know if the city engineer could correct me if I'm wrong, but nearby properties, I don't see any fencing. I do see landscaping. That seems to be a standard. Yeah, so please, city engineer, if I'm wrong, correct me. And then something that was not addressed by the neighbors, but I am looking in recommendations about the dumpster location, and I do see a suggestion to relocating it to a less visible location, but then during the presentation talked about just additional fencing. Did something change since this, or would the suggestion still be different location? And then for the applicant, is there another reasonable location for access and to be out of the way than to the east? What's proposed now?
So what is proposed has the least amount of heavy-duty pavement. It's also the most accessible, and given the length of the site, there's not a whole lot of flexibility for a sanitary truck to move. Although it is right at the entrance and somewhat a focal point, it's still the complementary brick and block, so it's the same materials as the building itself, and we'll certainly add that landscaping if that will help.
Okay. So basically, there's not a better location, just got to have better landscaping.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay. As far as fencing goes, I did look behind Quick Trip. I don't see a fence, but the north side of the We Energies property from the aerial does appear to have some sort of a fence along the edge of the
That's a secure
parking.
facility.
However, when you look behind Syndex, it does appear that when I was out there, I didn't look behind Syndex, but it does appear that there is maybe even a wooden fence that goes the entire property. So probably, and they also have the pond issue, but they still have a fence. So, good for Syndex probably wouldn't, I think would be appropriate here just to continue that fence straight on through, at least on the north side. I guess that wouldn't bother me to make that requirement. So, as far as the engineering comments, there were some additional comments once we looked at the packet. Noticed the discussion about the other lots, potential for other lots. Have a concern about the water main. So typically, we hope to get the water main. We say we offer to take the water main, but in your case, I think that's going to be a requirement because if you use that to serve, say, a Dunkin' Donuts or whatever you decide to put up front, therefore you got a couple customers off the same line. So therefore, it needs to be a public water main. Therefore, you got to go through DNR and that'll take a couple extra months. You need to plan for to get the public water main. Have to vacate an easement, give us a new easement, that sort of thing. So I just want to make you aware of that.
And we have begun that process.
Okay. And then I guess when I'm sitting here watching the presentation, I guess the biggest question I still have is why is the building in the back? I mean, we got Rawson Avenue. Seems like, I mean, I'm not going to say your building looks beautiful, to be honest, but I think that would look nicer than just a plain parking lot with a bunch of people trying to vacuum their cars. So why don't you orient the building up front as opposed to make it look like a parking lot?
Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, well, we had that discussion, and from a business perspective, from a marketing perspective, we would prefer.
Yeah.
But from a customer perspective, our customers, especially our female customers, don't want to be vacuuming in the back of a building. Safety. No one wants to be in the back of a building. And that's why it's in the front. It's a customer point of view or safety point of view, having our customers have to go to the back of the building to vacuum their vehicle.
So I'm thinking about other car washes that I frequent and oil change places up and down 27th Street. They tend to have the vacuuming on the side of the buildings, so is your lot not wide
The
enough?
lot's not wide enough for that.
Okay, so that's the issue. So I just think that, so the other car wash that's up, near Loomis, quite honestly, I just think that's ugly every time I go by it and I see people out there with, vacuuming their cars kind of stuff. But that's the shape of their lot. Quick Trip has the same issue too. I mean, they're right up front, but having so many of them, I just really think that the building should be better up front. I understand the safety concern, at least the perception of safety concern, I'll say.
Correct, you're stuck in the back,
Yeah.
and, late at night, not that busy, especially this time of the year. Just a perception of safety being closer to the road.
Those are my comments.
Commissioner Haley?
Thank you. Question, concern that I have. The western edge of the property, it looks, the northern half has a 10-foot access easement for pond maintenance. I'm not sure, given the development of the plan, how somebody would get to that. And when I look at the landscape plan, you've got trees in that strip along the vacuuming area. So if someone needed to go in with equipment to do maintenance on that pond, which ultimately does happen, they've got to somehow get through your site to the western edge and then north. And that easement doesn't seem to go all the way out to the street from what I can ascertain. I don't know if you're aware that that's there, but anything obstructing that place, including trees, equipment out back, is going to restrict that. And I don't know how they get to it. It would actually need to go right across your driveways. So you either need to pay real close attention to how the trees are put in there, how the landscaping, talk to whoever does the maintenance and see what kind of equipment. Or the other option I could throw out there is you could flip the easement and put it on the eastern edge of the property from the street. But right now it's there, it's existing, and you're probably going to preclude its ability to be used in the future. So I don't see it as a huge problem, but you really want to be aware of that, because whoever is responsible for doing the pond maintenance will need to get in there with large equipment. That's why the easement is there.
Makes sense.
And we were aware of the easement when we did the site plan, but if there's a contact that you could provide for us to reach out to, you can certainly have that conversation, access how they currently utilize it.
I don't know who's responsible for that maintenance, who the easement, granted, you need to look at the easement document itself, but maybe they don't need it anymore. Maybe they do, but I think you need to have a feel for how that would function. And it's certainly possible to replace that easement. If the intent is to get through from your street to the pond, there's probably a better location for it. East of the property, the eastern edge, or on the outlot potentially.
Makes sense.
Find them a way to get in and out of there.
Absolutely.
Yep. And it looks like you have the room there. And yes, get your landscaping right. Because you got none shown in back. And none shown at the trash enclosure.
Absolutely, no problem. We pride ourselves on landscaping, that's why there was so much on there, but I understand there's nothing showing at the entrance of the car wash in the back. So if you want us to put a fence up, again, not a problem. If you just want us to go heavy landscaping back there, not a problem.
I think you'd probably have the best luck with landscaping right along the north edge of what's there in green.
Sure.
Anyone else? All right. We got 3 motions on this matter. Let's do them one at a time. And you guys ring out if you've got a modification. First on the special use. Is there a motion recommending approval of a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a special use for the development of a single-story building housing offices and a car wash facility, Jilly's Car Wash, with adjacent parking for the vacuum stalls as well as general parking, 3 separate pay stations, landscaping and lighting upon a property located at 5450 West Rawson Avenue?
Second.
Commissioner Leone, seconded by Commissioner Haley. Said Hanman, sorry. With that, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mayor voted aye to affect the outcome. On the site plan, is there a motion to adopt a resolution approving a site plan for the development of a single-story building housing offices and a car wash facility for Jilly's Car Wash with adjacent parking for vacuum stalls as well as a general parking, 3 separate pay stations, landscaping and lighting located at 5450 West Rawson Avenue. This does not address this fence. Leon and Haley. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mayor voted aye to affect the outcome. Now on to the certified survey map. Is there a motion to recommend approval of a resolution conditionally approving a 3-lot certified survey map being a redivision of all of Lot 1, the certified survey map number 8120, located in the southeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of Section 2, Township 5, Range, Township 5 North, Range 21 East, City of Franklin, Wisconsin, at 5450 West Rawson Avenue. Leon and Haley. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mayor votes aye to affect the outcome. With that, this will go to the Common Council on the 21st for their approval. Or denial, or
The special use and certified.
something
survey
else.
map will,
Right.
So,
Site plan has been approved.
Contingent upon. Need to see it. I believe.
Right. Okay, with that, we move on to the next item. Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Next item, which is introduction of Section 10 of the Unified Development Ordinance rewrite.
thank you,
Ms. X.
Mayor. Let me just quickly find my notes about this. So this is just an introduction of this item. The task force had asked previously that we provide them with enough time to thoroughly review all of the materials. And so the consultants, Halcyon Levine, have put forward the draft articles 10 and 11, Article 10, Plan Development Districts, and Article 11, Non-Conforming Structures, Lots, and Uses for the Commission's review. Again, this is in draft form. If you have initial questions that you would like the consultants to address when they join us at the next Plan Commission meeting, I'm happy to make note of them at this time, but the purpose of this is to just introduce the item and give you a chance to pose those questions so we can get you good answers. And then broadly, I know there's been discussion in the past of copy editing, et cetera. And so if there are comments like that that you'd wish to forward, maybe not canvass them in the meeting, but provide us with a marked up copy and we can pass that along. So just in general, plan development districts are proposed to be shifted to a kind of overlay district over a base zoning, and then the existing districts would remain in place, and then the non-conforming structures, this is basically the legal requirements of zoning and how they work with non-conforming uses, the goal being to reduce some non-conformities in Franklin currently. So are there any initial questions from the commission that you'd like me to either try to respond to or pass on to the consultants?
Well, I'll start off. I don't have a lot with this one. Because frankly, I didn't have time to read it very carefully, but I did look on page 4 of 5 of Article 10, paragraph B, the pre-filing project introduction. See, I thought it was pre-filling, but it's not. It's pre-filing. That's going to the Plan Commission, I think in keeping with the tradition we've established over the last dozen years, that pre-filing application should probably go to the Common Council.
Okay.
That's the sum and substance of my comments. Commissioners, Mr. City Engineer.
The pre-filing application, is that what you're referring to as a concept review?
Yep.
It's optional?
Yep.
So we've always told folks that's, at least in the last dozen years, that's an optional step. They don't have to go there, but,
The pre-filing one. Pre-filing introduction option.
oh, gotcha, I'm sorry.
Anybody else? Okay, Mr. City Attorney.
I have a number of just general points, questions that I kind of did on the run. And part of my issue has been, it's not as if we're taking certain chapter or division of the UDO and then amending that. These are essentially new, and part of that starts right away with Article 10, refers to planned development. Doesn't say planned development districts. Doesn't say if it's only one lot, and it's out of the gate, it was somewhat confusing, and then I immediately think, okay, with the UDO update amendment, what happens to existing planned development districts? And does that create confusion when you now are regulating planned developments, but there still are planned development districts, into 40 or whatever? So that was one of my issues. And then, let's see, section 10.01. Oh, the purpose. Purpose of the regulations, standards, and criteria contained in this article is to provide an alternative procedure under which land can be developed or redeveloped with innovation, imagination, and creative architectural design when sufficiently justified under the provisions of this article. The objective of the plan development standards is to encourage a higher level of design and amenity than is possible to achieve under otherwise applicable zoning regulations, et cetera, et cetera. In effect, what it's saying is a human may wish to apply for a plan development because all of the other zoning regulations don't produce something positive. That's the way I'm reading. So I just thought I'd mention it. Then 2C, just in terms of some of these standards. All right, application for a plan development. Each plan development should be presented and judged on its own merits, which eventually states that there are no standards, whether or not it has merit. How do you judge that?
Merit standard. The word is merit, not standard.
It's judged on its own merits. You're judging.
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
No, I was just clarifying for Marion, even though she didn't need clarification.
And then I think 3D, my note was, that finally it was mentioned, that it does require an ordinance. So even though it's just referred to as plan development as opposed to plan development district, it does require an ordinance, even though it's just refers to being delineated in the ordinance. It doesn't say shall, but obviously requires an ordinance.
So we'll add the word district after the word development.
If that works, because I wasn't involved in any detail on this. And then 4C, public gathering space. I'm assuming public means the general public, just not everybody dwells or owns a business on the property. Anyway, on the end of the fourth line, just in terms of all the amenities, or pedestrian scaled and celebratory lighting, such as string or Tivoli lights. I thought, what are Tivoli lights? And I did the quick electronic world now, cut and paste online. It's a company. I thought, are we putting a certain brand or company in our code in terms of?
Well, I'd consider it if they were a Franklin-based company, but they're not.
Well, I'm just mentioning this stuff. Then 4F. The affordability of housing. It says plan development includes 15% of the total residential dwellings deed restricted for households for affordable housing. Should it not say at least 15%? Because the way it reads, you have to have 15%. You had 16%, it's not 15. You had 14, it's not 15 there. And then 5A, that's standard legal requirement consistent with the comprehensive master plan, the way this one reads, and currently, the current UDO might read the same way, but my thought was, well, you're in effect rezoning when you're doing one of these plan developments, but there might be, the way it's written, I could see an argument that if you also apply for an amendment to the comprehensive master plan concurrent with the rezoning, that somebody could argue, no, you can't do that because your application doesn't comply with it, so I tweak something in there. So, an amendment concurrent with the rezone means the same thing, just as a thought. And then 5B, these are standards the council has to find the application meets all of the following. 5B, placemaking. Yeah. Plan development has a distinctive identity. Okay, what does that mean? And then with all these standards, just had a fleeting thought, setting all these standards as opposed to rezoning, simply a standard of being reasonable under the law, et cetera. It's almost walking into the conditional use current statutory amendments dating back a few years where you get into the debate, all right, is this a public hearing or is this a quasi judicial process required, et cetera, et cetera. So just thought I'd bring that up.
Let me interrupt for 1 second, because we're on that section. Standards of review. I would like to see us add a standard of review for the financial value to the community. It being assessed value per acre, or pick whatever it is, but.
A standard of review that the applicant provide that information, or?
Right.
Okay.
And then the common council can make the determination as to whether that's good enough.
Then the opposition argument would be the quid pro quo. They're only doing it for the money. They're buying your vote. I just thought I'd throw it.
Believe me, I knew you were going to say that before you said it.
All right, then 6F. It was the last line of the intro there. Okay. Following the public hearing, the Plan Commission shall consider proposed plan development, staff report, et cetera, and it ends with, and make a recommendation to the Common Council to make one of the following recommendations base. I don't know what base means there. And then 6G, 6G, in terms of deliberation action by the Common Council. Common Council shall consider staff report, public comment received at the public hearing. Public hearings before the Plan Commission. So if you do that technical detail process, there at a minimum should be a transcript to the council. And then Article 11.
Wait, before you go on,
Okay.
Commissioner Leon?
Mr. City Attorney, just with the 6F base, is that just referring to these are the base or standard 3 recommendations, but there could be things like amendments to, so it's just pointing out that these are the 3 basic level?
It's not clear to me. I'd reword it.
I'd suggest that they're using the term base and then cut and paste. You paste the base requirements below. I think it's just they didn't delete it. They should fix it, put it that way.
All right, Article 11, in 1A2 and 2A2, legal nonconforming uses.
substitution of new equipment. It's a legal non-conforming use. Real estate. Zoned. What does equipment to do personal property? It's one of them.
And on top of that, as a matter of form, you can't have an A without a B.
All right, so that was that one, and then 3D, oh, with the abutting lots, and I think I may have seen this before.
No, we're not putting snow removal.
3D. All right, existing substandard lots. So it's substandard, but I'm reading this as if it's legal and developable right now. So you change the code to say that lot is too small to build on. That not still legal non-conforming. So somebody has 14 lots and they have built on 8 of them and have 6 left to put new single-family homes on, and you rezone it, they know you can only put 1 there. So this says, if 2 or more substandard lots with continuous frontage have the same ownership as of the effective date of this UDO, the lots involved shall be considered to be an individual parcel for the purpose of the UDO. So I get the land combination, but it's basically saying these legal non-conforming lots are not available anymore. They have to be used as 1 instead of 2. So that's a double check required on that one.
But common sense would lead you to say that if you take 2 non-conforming lots that now become conforming and you do a certified survey map,
Well,
what's the purpose of this particular section?
I'm,
This little,
I'm understanding that they're conforming now, but they won't be. Oh, they're currently unbuildable?
well, it says 2 or substandard.
Okay, I didn't see a definition of that.
Yeah, it says 2 or more substandard lots.
But substandard, what, currently or?
It's potentially both. So there are a number of parcels in the city that, for a variety of reasons, might be considered substandard. And when the UDO rewrite is complete, depending on how the rezoning process works, there may be some parcels that get changed around, or the zoning requirements that change over them make them non-conforming. But part of the goal of the diagnostic process was to identify which parcels those were, to minimize non-conformities. So we're hoping to actually reduce that. And then the goal of this article is to provide some standards, clearer standards by which someone can potentially develop that lot. So there's some standards that might allow for development later on in the chapter, or otherwise. Non-conforming lots are basically unavoidable considering the history of land divisions in Franklin and just how land divisions happen in general. So the diagnostic step was designed to reduce that. There will be remaining non-conforming lots. We hope not to produce more, but it is worth asking the consultants if they know exactly how many will be created and how this resolves that. So I can pass that question along for sure.
It is.
Okay.
Next one was 4B with regard to continuation of legal non-conforming buildings. Continued in use provided there is no physical changes other than necessary maintenance and repair. Oh, it does say except as otherwise permitted here, and because that was inconsistent with earlier where it did speak in terms of that. Oh, you can make improvements, but not more than 50% of the assessed value or something. And then the last thought I had, and this goes to, okay, what does this mean when it comes down to a debatable application or something? 6B3, repairs and alterations. And what's normal maintenance permitted, and then no structural alteration is permitted except in the following situations. B3. Building may be altered in any way to improve livability.
So 200 feet on the front?
Generally speaking,
What it says.
oh, sorry, so generally speaking, this language is conforming to what's like a standard approach to how to deal with non-conforming buildings. So what's referred to here is things like replacing broken windows or ancient windows that are leaking, those kinds of things, but then allowing for, to establish a standard by which those non-conforming buildings can be phased out. So it's not too dissimilar from what's common in other places, and frankly, I don't know this part of the UDO that well to say, but if it's unclear, we should certainly address that.
I think the last half of the sentence clears it up, but
I think the focus of this particular item is that you can't change the number of units in the building. Maybe it should be 2 points.
Well,
Or the-
as with the other ones, I'm going to go back to the existing UDO. See what the difference are.
anything else?
Nope, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Ms. X, anything?
No, I will pass along the questions that I've made note of. And again, if you have markups or additional questions you want communicated, the consultants will be joining you at the next Plan Commission meeting remotely to go through a full discussion.
And when is the next plan commission?
The 23rd.
What?
The 23rd. 23rd?
With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Leon and Haley. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Presiding officer
Please
voted.
do.
Presiding officer voted aye to affect the outcome.